Viola Davis, here we are in Annalise's office.
Yes.
So there's so much that has happened here.
Yes, this is where the magic happens.
There's a lot of drinking and a lot of murder that has gone on.
A lot of drinking.
So let's start. I want to talk to you about these characters. And so let's start with Annalise. Do you remember the first time? What was your first introduction to Annalise? Was it a conversation with Shonda? Was it a script?
It was a script. And I thought, wow, me playing this role, you know, it was just something that I had never played. Someone who's sexualized, someone who's mysterious, someone who's social, maybe a lot sociopathic. But I thought it was a great departure from what I usually get asked to play and what I see other women of color able to play or given the opportunity to play. So I said, okay, I'm in. I'm all in 100%. And then the first thing I had to do was have the sex scene with Billy Brown. And I was like, okay, cut.
Are those still awkward for you?
Absolutely.
Just terrible, right?
Well, yeah. Listen, if you're in the privacy of your home doing any, thing intimate, it's fine. But when you have cameras in front of you, imagine cameras coming to your house when you're doing an intimate scene, and that changes everything. That's a game changer. It's everything in acting is about being private and public. And the more relaxed you could feel, the more private and intimate you can make it, the better the actor, So that has been my challenge. Every actor has a challenge. That's my challenge.
What were the aspects of Annalise that you really wanted to dive into? Because my understanding is you look for things in a character's past to explain their present.
Absolutely.
And what were some of her behaviors or traits that you thought, I really want to know how she got here?
All of it. I wanted to know the why. I wanted to know, I'm always interested in anyone, but women specifically, who emotionally shut down. At what point did that happen? What triggered it? And I just didn't want to play your usual general, mysterious, sexy woman who slinks in the room and has the squinted eyes and the kind of Veronica Lake look, and, leans over with her breasts hanging out and that's it. And the why is not explored. And I didn't want that because I'm not Veronica Lake and I'm not into gimmicky acting. I'm into creating a human being. And so I told Pete and Shonda and Betsy, if you want me to play this role, then I need to be a real woman. At the end of the day, I need to be a real woman that women can at least put a hook on, even if they didn't like her. If they could put a hook on her and go, that's something familiar, even something I wouldn't, a character trait I wouldn't admit that I have, that it's familiar to me. If you can give me that, then I'll do the role. And
that's what makes I think it goes a long way in explaining the success of the show, because as extreme as she sometimes is, as extreme as her situations are, there's something really relatable. Everybody sort of, men and women, everybody kind of has a little bit of Annalise. You get it.
I think the key to the second season was her having a stillborn baby, because I could see that shutting any woman down. And I think that a lot of times, one of the things that I don't want is anyone to limit me as a woman on television. I don't want any limits. I don't want any structure to her. I feel that as soon as people say she needs to be likable, she needs to be nurturing, she needs to be warm, you're limiting her pathology, you're limiting her humanity. And I don't think on a day-to-day basis, if you were to define any woman, that she would be limited to those adjectives. There are times when we are absolutely not maternal and all of those things. We're messy.
Yeah.
We're complicated. And I think that should be the attraction to the character, because, no one's going to ask James Gandolfini as Tony Soprano or Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter to be warm and fuzzy. I mean, let's be honest, right?
Warm and fuzzy, ultimately not all that interesting.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
That'll only take you so far. Were there plot points that were incorporated into the show about Annalise that came from your that came from your brain and your ideas about things that might have happened to her in the past?
Absolutely.
Because I remember early on you said you think that part of the reason for her promiscuity may have been that she was sexually abused.
Absolutely.
And I wondered if that plot point came from that.
That came from me, because I work with the Rape Treatment Center at UCLA in Santa Monica. I know that for a fact. It's just a fact. 1 out of every 4 women are sexually abused at any given time. It happens. It's life. And I'm in the business of showing life. I'm not trying to be all serious actor studio, but I'm just trying to explain to you what it is that I do. So once again, I don't want to just play a really sexualized character just for effect. So people, in the audience can go, oh, I want to watch How to Get Away with Murder because, that's, not that they're going to say that about me, but it's like, because, Annalise is so sexy and blah, 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 blah. And there's no why explored. I mean, come on, So I created that, the stillborn birth, her taking her wig off. I always want to humanize a character because I believe that's what makes people lean in. What makes people lean in is the familiar, because we're not given permission in our lives to reveal. When we go out in public, we mask. And so it's our job as artists to unmask in public. And a lot of times, listen, I've gone to a lot of red carpets. I got my publicist right there. So a lot of red carpets, a lot of makeup, a lot of all that stuff. But at the end of the day, that's just a byproduct of what I do. That's just not what I do.
Do you like that part of it?
No.
You don't, really?
You know what? No. There are times when I put on a pretty dress where I go, I feel pretty. And it lasts for about an hour. But what can I say? It's cool. It's all good. No, it's good. People have bigger problems in life than putting makeup on and off.
Just not as fun as it looks. I think that's probably what you're saying. Yeah. It looks fun.
And sometimes it is fun.
Yeah.
There's some great food at a lot of these events and drinks and gift bags. I like gift bags.
The last time I saw you was at the Oscars, and I was working on the pre-show on the red carpet, and you and Julius both, you and your date came up, and we were talking, and I don't know how we got there so quickly, but it became about you and Julius really would rather be home in the hot tub.
No,
so I got it.
Me and Julius, I always say we're the fun at the events because we're going to have fun. No matter what, it's going to be fun.
Right.
But we do like our jacuzzi. But, people have heard that time and again. We love our backyard. We love our jacuzzi.
Let's talk about Amanda Waller for a second. Mm-hmm. Suicide Squad. Mm-hmm. One of the most interesting characters from the DC Comics universe. She really is.
Okay,
I thought.
That.
Now, what drew you to Amanda Waller? What made you think, you know what, I've got a little time off from How to Get Away with Murder, and I'm going to spend it doing probably a pretty intense piece of work on this big summer action movie?
Why not? I mean, I'm in the movie with the Joker, with Harley Quinn, Deadshot, but also, I love the way Amanda Waller looks.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I wish I could have gotten bigger. At first, I had padded myself. I put pads all over myself. I was so excited. And, picked out my fro. I just love the pearls and the fro and the fact that she doesn't have superhuman powers, but she keeps all of these super anti-heroes in control. There was something about that was absolutely appealing. And you know what? It's the girl in me because I'm really shy. I've gotten a lot better, but I was intensely shy when I was younger, really bad. And I'm not confrontational. I'm not one of those women. So it was really interesting to play someone who is unapologetically brutal. It was something very liberating about that, and very much someone who fed on power and control, which is something I don't feed on.
But she's so comfortable with it. That's one of the. I mean, it's an incredibly powerful character.
Yeah, and I hate guns in real life.
Well, you had no problem killing a whole lot of people in this movie.
What? I did not. Yes, it was like play acting. When you first got into acting, it was fun. And then somewhere along the line, any actor can tell you this, you get tired.
Yeah.
You get tired. You're just going from job to job. It's about deprivation. When I'm going to get this work? Am I going to make enough for health insurance? What kind of roles am I getting? I'm getting older. What kind of roles am I going to get? It gets to be all of that. But when you first start off with acting, it's just fun. It's just about hiding with your friends and pretending to be different characters and putting your mom's lipstick all over your face and wearing her high-heeled shoes. And this reminded me about how much fun acting. It
sort of explains also a little bit. You are sometimes, not all the time, but you are sometimes drawn to the sort of big summer fantasy type of movies.
Yeah.
They're just fun.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they're superheroes. I mean, seriously. I mean, I grew up trading comic books. Wonder Woman was my hero. That was it for me. By the way, I'm going to be there first day, opening day of Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Absolutely, hands down. And Superman, all the DC comics. And I'm not just saying that because I'm doing Suicide Squad. I just was in love with, because I just thought to myself, because I was bullied growing up, I said, if I could be Wonder Woman, I could take care of all the bullies, and I could be cute doing it. So that's it.
Which is a bigger thrill, finding yourself face to face on the set doing a scene with Batman or Cicely Tyson?
Oh, that's a hard one. That's a hard one.
You've done both, so you don't have to pick.
Miss Tyson, I think, wins out because she hits it on all points.
Sort of amazing that this year, the two movies coming out between now and the end of the year, Suicide Squad and Fences.
Yes.
For anybody that saw Fences on Broadway when you did it and you won the Tony for it, you and Denzel Washington, it was really it was a magical experience because a lot of us at that point had seen you on screen. If you were lucky enough to see the play, to see you then on stage. It was such a treat. And you took this play that I guess was written in the 80s, that's about the 50s, and it was so relevant.
Yeah.
And shattering.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's a story about a family. And it's a story about how the culture at the time informs this family, I love it because I love Rose.
Yeah.
I love Rose. I love the fact that, through the course of the whole play, you see her slowly peel away the layers. And for me, she becomes every woman's story of giving up one's dreams, not understanding what the dream was, and probably having no language to the fact that she's frustrated, but knowing that the dissatisfaction is there. And I just think that that's women's story. I think that's a woman's story in 2016 too. I think women sacrifice a whole lot for their children, for their families, and in the end, there is always something about them that feels a little bit empty. Like they've got to put whatever their needs are on the side, put it in the trash, and just leave it there. And I just feel like she absolutely encapsulates every woman's story. I love her.
Rose is married to Troy, who is played by Denzel Washington, and he's in fact directing the film. So what was it originally specifically about Rose and her story within the play that made you go, wow, I need to play this part?
That she's fully explored. That at first you almost feel like she's in the background. That all she's doing is cleaning, cooking. Every time she comes in, she's cooking something. She's cooking, she's cleaning, she's whatever, And then all of a sudden, something is introduced in the play that you really get an understanding of what else and who else she is. And for me, as an actor, actors love roles where they go on a journey, where you absolutely assume that they're one way, and then throughout the course of the narrative, it absolutely shatters. My big thing now with narratives is I want to see a person's pathology. I want to see exactly who the person is, not what they did, not if they're heroic. I want to know exactly who they are, good, bad, ugly. And for me, that's what you find in Fences. There's not one woman that's not going to sit there and go, that's me. That's exactly how I feel. But I couldn't even put words to it, but she nailed it exactly. Rose nails it exactly. That was the appeal for me.
It's interesting to hear you talk about Rose when August Wilson is primarily known for these male characters that he writes, but the women are always just as interesting. And you've had more than one experience playing them, too.
Yeah, I played several. I played Tanya and King Headley. I played Maddie and Joe Turner's coming. You know, I've been around for 30 years. I've been around the block. I say I'm an OG, original gangster. But I find that what August has done is it, like he always said. He would say, oh, you know, and Vera in Seven Guitars, like I'm writing this scene and all these men are talking, and all of a sudden, a woman walked in while I was writing it, and she said, I got something to say. And so I said, okay, who are you? And she said, my name is Vera, or my name is Rose. And in the midst of you writing about all these men, I have something to say. And it was, he would open the door, he said, and I gave her a seat. And that's what he does, even in the midst of Fences, which is really, you know, the prime focus is this man who could have been the greatest baseball player ever, but he was part of the Negro League. Black men were not allowed to be in the National Baseball League. And so he missed out on his dreams. And now you see him as a garbage man, and you see how his hubris, his excessive, is destroying his family. But what's so wonderful about it is that that's his story, but it's my story too. While you feel like this could have been your dream, your hopes, whatever, I had dreams too. And so did your son, and so did whatever. And then that's your introduction into the family.
What do you think August Wilson said in his plays about the African American experience in the 20th century that makes him so important?
I call him a griot, which is usually the eldest member of a tribe in Africa who carries the history of the tribe, of the people. He is a griot in the sense that in all of the cycle of his plays, you see the history of black people in America. Turn of the 20th century, Joe Turner's come and gone, the 50s, Fences, the 80s, King Headley. But what he does is he tells the story through relationships, through the relationships with each other and through the relationships people have within themselves. And I think that's sometimes the best way to mark the times. I mean, listen, me and Troy, Rose and Troy, very much was a relationship of the 50s, where they felt like 50s had the highest rate of women who were alcoholics, women who hid behind perfectly waxed floors and perfectly applied makeup, but inside they just were repressed, angry, you know, all of those things. And that's how people met. You know your place and I know my place. And so you get a sense of where we were as black people and the relationship between men and women through him writing about this relationship. So they're not just getting the facts, they're getting the emotional history. Because the times and the culture, they do dictate how we feel about ourselves or how we don't feel about ourselves. And that's what he captured, I think, perfectly.
What does stardom do to your relationship with the audience when you're performing. And I say this because when I saw you and Denzel in Fences on Broadway, had I not known anything about you or had seen you before, that character Rose is really shattering and heartbreaking because you bring such a strength to it, and you sort of get a sense of what this woman's potential could have been had she come from a different time and different circumstances. I think that makes it even more poignant because we also associate you with characters like Annalise Keating. Like all of that strength and power kind of, it follows you into whatever else you do. Do you think that enhances, or do you even think about that?
I can't think about that. If I thought about that, then I would not be thinking about what's necessary for the character. I cannot go into Rose and say, okay, you know what? I can't wear that dress or that bra because Annalise Keating wears that bra and da-da-da-da.
Right.
I have to say, what would Rose do? Every single character you play has got to be a sacrifice of one's vanity. It just does. You know, we are living in an age where it's like the famous poem that says we wear the mask that grins and lies. It hides our cheeks and shades our eyes. That's the time we're living in, which is why, you know, you have so many people who are afraid to be vulnerable. You have so many people who live in the closet because there is a sense that we cannot accept people unless they are in a package that we can accept. And that doesn't show who we are, the parts of us that we want to hide. So as an actor, it's the beauty of our profession. Like, there's a lot of crappy things about what we do. Seriously, our lifestyle is really hard. But the beauty of what we do is we show you. The part of you that you don't even think is a gift should be celebrated. The part of you that's putrid, that's messy, that's all of those things. That's our job. And if you don't do it, if your unwillingness to do it is the level of actor you are, that's just the bottom line.
You spent a lot of time as a little girl on, I guess it was your grandmother's farm that was the site of a plantation, an actual plantation. Were you aware of the history of that land when you were on it, or was it just a farm to you?
Listen, for me, I wasn't on it long because I was the fifth child, and so we moved soon after I was born. I mean, I went back to visit briefly, but still not aware of the history. I think I read one slave narrative of someone who was on that plantation, which was horrific. 160 acres of land, and my grandfather was a sharecropper. Most of my uncles and cousins, they're farmers. That's the choice that they had. And my grandmother's house is one room shack. I have a picture of it on my phone because I said I think it's a beautiful picture. It's just me. And no running water. You know, no bathroom, it's just outhouse. But my mom says that the day I was born, all of my aunts and uncles were in the house. She said everyone was drinking and laughing and having fun. She said she ate a sardine, mustard, onion, tomato sandwich after I was born. And I love that story. It's a great story to me. It's a great story of celebration in the midst of what you would feel is a decimated environment, but you could see the joy and the life that can come out of that because it's not always about things. You know.
Do you remember the first character you ever played on stage?
I played Death in Every Man.
Did you?
I am Death.
Was this
all man fear? Yes.
The high school?
14 years old. At Young People's School for the Performing Arts, and I thought I was fabulous.
What did you say is Death? I want to hear a little bit more of that.
That's the only line I remember. I am Death. And I came out of a trap door with dry ice, all the smoke, and I even had death dancers dancing around me. And listen, a fabulous entrance, a deep voice, a cloak. I had them. That's the last time I actually really loved what I did. Everything else was like crap. But
all downhill from there.
All downhill from there. Yep.
When did you realize that acting was going to be the thing that was going to? When did you realize you wanted to do it?
Well, I realized I wanted to do it when I was 6 years old, when I saw Miss Tyson in Autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman. But it was only until I went to college. It took me 5 years to get my undergraduate degree. I got a BA degree in theater. Because for the first year, I went into a severe depression because I said, I can't be an actor. I got to be able to pay my bills. I got to be able to do this. I got to It was an internal decision of following my passion. Because as soon as I did that, my depression was released. There was no outside factor that gave me permission to be an actor. You have to see a physical manifestation of your dream. Yeah. If you don't see the physical manifestation, it's hard to conjure it yourself. But how I conjured it was I got to the bottom rung level of depression because I was trying to be an English major. English major. I mean, I love reading, I really do, but me as an English major, it just wasn't working. But so I decided I wanted to be an actor. I said, I'm going to make a commitment, win or lose. That's when, and I started taking acting courses, and that's when everything was released.
Do you think you grew up very poor?
Yeah.
Did that make it easier to choose such an insecure profession, or did it make it harder to go into something that was so insecure?
Well, it's a little bit of both. You have to realize it's like if you decide to be an actor, that's not deciding to be an accountant. There are steps you take, and then you're a CPA. Mm-hmm. There are not steps you take and then you're an actor unless you get a job. I mean, come on, you can't be an actor in your room. So it was still hard because it's nebulous. It's not a profession where you can go to auditions every day for 6 weeks and get a job. You can go on an audition every day for 2 years and never get anything. Yeah. So, but it did make it easier in a sense that I felt that I didn't get any pressure from my parents to be something that they were. Because they were coming from, my dad had a 5th grade education. My mom has an 8th grade education. My dad learned how to read by looking at billboards. They were happy that I wanted to be anything. Yeah. That's it. Just something that got me out of bed in the morning. So that helped. That helped that they weren't stage parents, that they just wanted me to be happy. That made it easier.
How did you go to college? Did you get scholarships?
I got scholarships through the Upward Bound and Preparatory Enrollment Program. There were programs created in the 60s to help people who were disadvantaged to experience the college atmosphere. So that's how I went to Rhode Island College on scholarship.
Do you remember your audition for Juilliard?
I did.
What did you audition with?
Celie from The Color Purple.
Which speech from Celie?
I pieced together the first 2 pages of The Color Purple, and then I did Martine from Moliere's The Learned Ladies. And those were my 2 pieces, and when I went to Juilliard, I was a professional actress at the time. I thought, once again, this is the last time I had that much confidence. And I was coming from Providence, Rhode Island, so I only had 45 minutes in the city before I had to go back to Providence to make my half-hour call to be on stage to perform Joe Turner's Come and Gone. So I came to New York, and I went into my audition, and I said, look, you got 45 minutes to decide whether you want me in this school or not. I'm just letting you know, because I got to be on the train going back to Rhode Island. Okay, so I'm going to start. And I had a big red sweater on. I was about 175 pounds. And I had on a purple, gold, pink, I forgot, probably 10 different color scarf.
It was the
Wrapped
80s.
around
It was
my-
the 80s.
Right. Oh no, this is beyond the 80s. This was something else. This was the 80s mixed with, I don't know, mystical, so I performed my monologue, and that's what I felt like then. I felt that confident. You know, they beat me down after that,
Yeah.
but, you know, I felt like I had something then to give. But I knew, but the good thing I will say about myself, I was humble enough to understand that I needed to learn a lot also. So,
Do you still remember any of Celie's speech? Do you still have that imprinted in your head?
yeah, dear God, I am 14 years old. I have always been a good girl, and I'm just reciting it. Maybe you can give me a sign, let me know what's happening to me. I remember that, and then there's some words that I can't say on that. She talks about the baby coming out, and she didn't know what it was. And then her father takes it away from her, and that's when she just breaks down, because she knows that even though I don't know what's happening to my body, I know that whatever came out of it, I love.
Yeah.
And he took from me. I thought it was a very powerful monologue at the time. The Learned Ladies, I don't think was good. At the time, I thought I was good, but that was probably a little crappy, but yeah.
What did you do after you finished Juilliard, which I guess was early 90s, and kicking around New York, looking for acting jobs? Did you have to have other jobs to support yourself?
You know what? Here's the thing. I'm just going to admit it to you. I did have to have other jobs. Now, did I have other jobs? No. So I really starved, to say the least.
Really?
There was some lean years in there. Lean years.
Interesting. There was some there was some work and even some critical success, but really the Vera in 7 Guitars was a very big moment for you.
Yeah,
kind of your first big break in that world.
My first big break.
And tell me about Vera.
Vera was one of those roles that as soon as I got the script, I memorized it within 2 minutes. So that's when I knew it was meant to be. And Lloyd Richards was a director. He directed the original production of Raisin in the Sun. He was August Wilson's first collaborator. And I remember when I auditioned for Vera, and oh my God, I said, this is it. This is my big break. And I was doing it, and I was doing it. And I remember him saying, I'm going to have you do this again, Viola. And this is what I'm going to say to you. Vera doesn't want to go there. Emotionally, she doesn't want to go there. It's her first meeting with this man who dumped her years ago. He's now back in her life saying, I need you back, I need you.
And this is Floyd, a very charming musician who's now out of prison.
Out of prison, and he's about to have a hit record that he made before he went to prison. Now he's gathering all of his musicians with him, and now he wants his woman back. And he's trying to get me back. I'm saying, no. And I remember I said, I'm going to be brutal. No. I was overacting. And he said, Vera doesn't want to go there. And it was the first permission I had from a director to be simple.
Vera doesn't want to go to the place where she's upset.
Emotional,
right.
Yes. It's the permission I had to be simple. And I appreciated that. And listen, I got the job. I cried. I did. It's the last time I remember crying after I got the job.
What about the Tony nomination?
I came home with after I got the first Tony nomination. I got on the train to go back home to tell my parents, and all my nieces and nephews were in the house. They're like 2, 1 years old, and I just barged into the kitchen. I said, I got a Tony nomination, and they all started just flipping over, all my nieces and nephews going, they didn't know what the hell it was.
What's a Tony? It must be good.
Know. They just were happy that I was happy. I just remember that like yesterday. It was so sweet.
Then the first television One of the first big things in television was the City of Angels.
That's where I met my husband.
It was a big moment for you.
Yeah.
That whole thing.
Yeah.
So many questions about that, starting with, this was a CBS drama with a largely African-American cast. That was a huge deal at the time. Did you, but it didn't lasted a couple of seasons, probably due to a lot of things, mostly a lot of creative upheaval. As something that you went into with such hopes pinned on, was that when you look back, meeting your husband aside, when you look back, was that experience a great experience? Was it a huge disappointment? It certainly was an education in television for you, though.
Definitely not a huge disappointment. I didn't know enough to feel like to be married to anything. So it was only great experience. The only thing that was disappointing is there was something in the back of my head that felt like I would be used more. There were so many shows where I just, I would be behind a mask. And
Yeah.
I remember one episode, all I said was OR1. And I would always skim through the script to see if I had anything.
Yeah.
Now I skim through the script and I go, okay, no, I don't want to do this. Oh, damn, I'm in this scene. But I loved it. I loved the fact that Stephen Bochco went out on the limb to try to get. Listen, even though it was a predominantly black cast, it was touted as an all-black drama. It still had many Caucasian actors in it, probably more Caucasian actors than black actors. And I appreciated the fact that he wanted to explore that. I always appreciate the fact when anyone wants to explore my life in this body. I appreciate it. So at the time, it was nothing but a great experience. And I met my husband and it took it over the edge.
Do you remember the day you met him?
Yeah, craft services, because I was eating a bagel. Listen, every day was about what was at craft services. That was a time when I wasn't thinking about no diet. So I was eating a cinnamon raisin bagel with tuna fish on it. If you've never had it, it's absolutely delicious. So, and complaining about Los Angeles, which I did on a day-to-day basis. So.
And what did you say to him? Was it hello? Was it what
I
was
didn't say anything to him. He came up to me and he had his bag over his shoulder. And the first thought, he was like, hey, because we had just did a scene. And the only thing I thought was, he's good looking. He's really good looking. But then he gave me his card. He said, I heard you're not from Los Angeles. I'll take you to Santa Monica Pier. You ever been to Santa Monica Pier? And I was like, no. He said, let me give you my card. And I was like, a card? I was really not feeling LA. I said, he's going to give me a card and he's not going to have a shirt on, because there's been so many people gave me that card and they didn't have a shirt on. Like, dudes.
Really?
Like, yeah, let me give you my card, and maybe, we could think of something we could do together, and give him, and no shirt.
I guess that was like the original sext.
Maybe it didn't work.
Here's a card without my shirt on.
So when he gave me his card, I was like, oh, and I looked at it, I was like, oh, he had a shirt on.
Oh, thank God.
And, so I didn't call him for 6 weeks because I was...
6 weeks?
I had bad credit at the time. I had anxiety attacks from driving. I had to work out some personal issues first, like finding a place to live. So I didn't want to be that woman that had so many issues going into a relationship. But I have to say, all the anxiety and the angst and all of those things that I had, the minute we started dating, which was the first time I called him, all of it went away. And I'm not trying to sound kumbaya. His energy, his exuberance, the absolute amount of love and kindness he had, it just transformed me immediately. So
when you look at your life today and happily married, joyous, success, you have a daughter, Genesis.
Yeah.
By the way, where did the name Genesis? It's one of my favorite names that I've ever.
The beginning, she's like the beginning. She was like a renewal, That's where the name comes from.
What is your mantra?
I have two. I'm tired and I'm doing the best I can. I say that to my daughter all the time. Genesis, listen, your mommy's tired. I'm doing the best I can.
When you look at your life today with all of that going on, how much of that did you dream about when you were a little girl?
I dreamed about all of it.
You did.
And you know, this is the first time in my life I'm going to say this. Okay? And I'm going to, well, I did say it one other time in an interview. Because, to preface it, I don't believe I'm the best out there at all. I am not a legend in my own mind. I know that there are great actors out there. There could be lots of people who are better, okay? I know that there are pitfalls in my life and everyone's life. But at the end of the day, I'm going to say everything wonderful in my life, I deserve it. And I deserve it because I worked for it. I worked for every single part of it. None of it just came naturally or easily to me. I worked for my relationship. I worked for it. I was out there in the trenches working on myself, doing therapy, really holding myself accountable for every relationship that I had that didn't work. I put it on myself. Everything financially that's happened in my life. I've been out there in the trenches in terms of the work and acting for 30 years, working in church basements, taking buses for 5 hours a day just to do a play because of the love of it. Mm-hmm. You know, getting horrible reviews, admitting that I've been bad at certain things. But I have done it because I've always wanted to get better. I always wanted to learn, and because I always just wanted to be an actor. So this feels like this is the gift that, it's like they say, the happily ever after comes after you've done the work. I've done the work. I deserve it. And I'm saying that in the most humble way.
Let's go back to one of the probably, you know, the character that, other than Annalise, most people know you for, and that's Aibileen from The Help. Mm-hmm. That was, when that script crossed your desk, what were your first thoughts? My first thought,
first of all, the book, I did cry at the book, especially at the end. So I knew it was going to be important. I knew it was going to be a big movie. My second thought was I wanted it to be authentic. Mm-hmm. Which was, and I knew that there was going to be backlash from it.
Did you?
Oh, I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew that. And I ultimately feel like it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. Probably the character that I feel the closest to. I do.
Why do you feel closest to her?
It's just a relationship she had with me, Mobley. Mm-hmm. For me, meant something. It meant something when she walks away from Elizabeth and she says, "You give my baby girl a chance." Because I know what it means to not be told that you're beautiful and you're kind, you're going to be important, and you're valued, and people pouring into you from the beginning. I know what it feels to not be poured into, to be on the periphery, to not be the cute girl, but even the cute girls are not poured into, you know? And I know the damage it can cause afterwards. So to have this woman who stood in the gap, who may not have been educated, but understood really early that if I told this girl this now, maybe she could internalize it. And this could be the thing that drives her through life in a way that's good. I love that. I love it. You know, I feel very, very, very close to that in life. Did you feel a particular connection to Aibileen herself, given what we can assume was her background? Yes, and especially in the book, which you don't get so much in the movie, is that her entire life is internalized. Yeah. All of her angst, all of her anger, all of her sarcasm, everything is internalized. It's not shown. And I think that's me. I think that's most people. I think that's why a lot of people get with each other, and then after a long period of time, you're like, ooh, that's who you are.
Yeah.
We internalize a lot. And that's what I related to with Abilene, especially in 1963, Greenwood, Mississippi. That I would think that with a lot of African Americans, we lived very fully in the inside.
Now it's time for the Cagle exercise.
All right.
Just fill in the blank. Close friends describe me as...
Close friends, friendly. That's really boring, I know, but they do.
That's good. Better than the alternative. Just hateful.
Mm-hmm.
Strangers describe me as...
Hostile.
Only I know that I am...
Shy.
The song that always makes me dance is...
Proud Mary, Tina Turner.
The movie I've seen the most times.
Oh, E.T.
It may be heresy, but blank is overrated.
I can't say what
You
I
were
want to
thinking
say.
of something amazing. I could see it.
I can't say what I want to say. I'm going to respectfully decline that.
I think I'm really good at...
Dancing.
I think I'm really bad at...
Cleaning.
I feel sexiest when I am...
In my tub.
I wouldn't be caught dead in a...
Fur coat.
I start every day by doing...
A facial mask.
My greatest extravagance is...
Spas.
The thing about myself I've learned to love is...
Everything.
The teacher I'm most grateful for.
Oh, that's a hard one because I have too many. I'm going to say Dr. Hutchinson.
And what did Dr. Hutchinson teach you?
He was my friend. He liked me. That's what he taught me.
I love the smell of...
Oh, that's lavender.
My last meal would be what? I would eat it with whom?
Sushi. And I would eat it with my husband, who does not like sushi.
It's your last meal. He's just going to have to suck it up.
He's going to have to suck it up.
I could talk about blank for hours on end.
Acting.
As a child, I dreamed of becoming...
A painter.
A painter? Did you ever get to paint? Do you paint now?
I don't even paint anymore, but I painted all the time. Even won a big art contest where I went to RISD, gave me a big check, $500 when I was 14, ice sculptures, everything.
Well, belated congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Mm-hmm. My recurring nightmare is...
Recurring is drowning.
I can sum up my life in this bumper sticker.
Epic but simple.